you. Hello and good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, February 9th, 2021 Redevelopment Agency meeting. Let the roll call reflect that all board members are present with the exception of board member Nadolski, who has asked to be excused. Before we begin, I will go ahead and read the chair's statement regarding the chair's determination to hold electronic meetings without an anchor location. It reads, in accordance with Utah Code 52-4-207-4, I have determined that conducting meetings of the Ogden City Council with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present due to the infectious nature and potentially dangerous health effects of contracting the COVID-19 virus. This determination is based on the following. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention has determined that COVID-19 is easily spread between or among people who are in close contact with each other through airborne respiratory droplets and may be spread by people who are non-symptomatic. The state of Utah has developed the COVID-19 Transmission Index through a collaborative effort among state and local health officials, elected officials, the hospital industry, and business leaders. As of February 1st, 2021, Weber County was in the high transmission category, limiting group gatherings to 10 people or less. Based on the foregoing, all public meetings, including work sessions and meetings of the redevelopment agency, will be held electronically through February 28th, 2021. Information on how to connect to the electronic public meetings will be posted on each agenda. The public may comment during the electronic meeting and public hearings, on agenda items designated for input, or during the general public comment period. Written public comments may also be submitted through the following electronic options. Telephonic message 801-629-8158, public comment submission form at ogdencity.com/public input, or email at citycouncil@ogdencity.com. This statement becomes effective February 1st, 2021. Thank you. First up, we'll have a Pledge of Allegiance by Vice Chair White.
Please rise if you are able. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair White. We'd now ask all those joining us, or all those who are on Zoom with us, to join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes. First is the special meeting of October 6th and October 20th, 2020. Board Member Heyer.
Yes, Chair Blair, I've reviewed those minutes and they appear to be accurate according to my recollection.
Thank you. And the regular meeting of December 8th, 2020. Board Member Lopez.
Yes, Chair, the minutes are correct and I move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
We have a motion by Board Member Lopez and a second by Board Member Heyer to approve the minutes listed. This is a voice vote. All in favor? Any opposed? That passes. Okay, next are reports from the administration. First is the fiscal year 2020 annual report. And we'll have Brandon Cooper here tonight to do that report.
Members of the board, good evening. Thank you for your time tonight. Wish we could do this in person. We've had a number of years doing this together, and usually I'm able to hand out the hard copy version of the annual report, but we have those available for you at the council offices if you would like to pick them up next time you're in. But it's my pleasure to share with you the activities of the agency over the last fiscal year. So I'll go ahead and share my screen, and we can jump into some of the amazing things that are going on in the city. So again, this is for the fiscal year 20 report. So that's from June to July, June of 19 to July of 20. And we typically start out by talking about some of the acronyms that are associated with the redevelopment agency, just to reorient you in some of the vernacular. The oldest term is the redevelopment area, the RDA. There has been the urban renewal areas, which are URAs. We don't have very many of those. Economic development areas, EDAs, and community development areas, CDAs. The newest ones are CRAs, community reinvestment areas, and that's what we'll be including in tonight's report as well. There are two different types of implementations of a community reinvestment area, or a CRA. And the first one is if you recall, the process that does not require a finding of blight and does not use the tool of eminent domain. That is implemented through the negotiations with taxing entities individually and catalyzed in the form of interlocal agreements. And that's typically the process and the avenue that we use currently. The other option in terms of implementing an area is the CRA with eminent domain. And if you recall, that allows for the use of eminent domain within the first 5 years, but you would have to have a finding of blight, and it does require the full vote of the taxing entity together as a group. So those are the differences in the statute. And again, we usually are implementing the first process, which is the establishment of the CRA area without eminent domain. Currently, as of this report, we are managing 15 different areas. There are still 8 RDAs, which are usually the older areas that have been established for some time now. We have 1 CDA, 2 CRAs, 3 EDAs, and 1 URA. So that's currently the configuration of the districts. From my last inspection, I do believe that we have the most districts in the state out of all the agencies. We also have some of the oldest districts in the state. This slide is just a refresher. We like to include this in not only the annual report, but in this presentation to just remind everybody how tax increment is generated. It is one of our best tools for redevelopment. It does allow us to bring to bear financing that is otherwise not available, and does help projects to be implemented that are otherwise not feasible. So it's a very valuable tool. It's used in ways that have caused massive things to happen in the city in terms of innovation and forward progress. So we're very fortunate to have this. And essentially it's the freezing of the base property value at the time of the area creation. And as that area continues in time, value increases, and that value is captured incrementally by the agency and then is able to be returned back to the project area in ways to help the area grow. Each project area plan has objectives and has guidelines and rules essentially that help guide the progress and the future of the area. And so as TIF is returned to that area, then that value potentially increases. And then at the end of the district or at the sunset of the area, then that new value then is redistributed back to the taxing entities. And ideally, that value wouldn't have been able to be reached had not that investment through the tax increment process been achieved. So again, it's one of our most valuable tools. And we've seen a lot of great things happen because of it. So as of this report, we did close 3 areas: Lester Park, Wall Avenue, and Park Boulevard. These are some of our older areas, and essentially these areas were contributing to the debt service at the junction. There wasn't a lot of activities in these areas, and all of the revenue that we received from them was going to service debt at the junction. We anticipate next year that we will close the Golden Links area and the BDO, which is the DDO. And there's an overlap between calendar years and fiscal years here. So we've actually been receiving the benefits of the closure of the DDO district already. It was closed at the end of calendar year 19. And so we've already seen the benefits of that 20-year project area. We've seen a bump in our general fund balance, and that's been very helpful in other areas of the city. I know there's a lot of numbers on this slide, but I like to show this because it's a kind of a single page look at how the project areas are developing and what the snapshot looks like in terms of if we were to capture all of their value as of right now. So just to give you one example, let's go to the CBD mall, the very top line. We established that in 1977. It will expire in 2026. When we started in 77, it had a value of $3.1 million. And as of tax year 2020, its current value is $81 million. So you can see over those years, it's grown in value by $78 million. And if we were to close that today, based on our current tax rate of 0.002651, we would receive $208,090. That's much higher than what we would have received had that district just grown organically over time. So the annual growth is 58%, and generally properties outside of the redevelopment areas are only growing between 3 and 5%. You'll see that not every area is that productive. Golden Links has a negative growth rate. And so that's one that will expire next year, and probably for the best. It's not really contributing anything to the agency, nor has there been much development happening there. The belle of the ball is really the DDO. You can see it was established in 98, closed in 19. Because it was federally owned property at the time, it only had a taxable valuation of $22,000. And as of 2020, it had a valuation of $637 million. So that really is the quintessential example of the positive benefits and the accurate use of the redevelopment tool and the TIF tool. That's an increase of a massive amount, and we're currently receiving $1.2 to $1.3 million based on that new valuation of $637 million. And so these new districts that we have implemented over the last couple of decades, especially the ones that I have been part of since 2007, we've really looked at focusing their use and making sure that we have viable plans in place prior to their establishment so that we don't get the relapse of a Golden Links project area. We really want to replicate what's happened at DDO. And as you see, Trackline was one of our later districts established in 2013. That's seeing a 33% growth rate. And also the Kiesel CDA established a couple of years later. It's also seeing a plus 30% increase, and that's much higher than what it would have experienced had it not been the target of reinvestment in an area. So we're very happy to have this tool. As I've said, we continue to employ it in appropriate ways. We have a number of different project areas that we're looking at now, and we think this is a very good trend as we lose some of the older non-productive districts and move into the newer districts. We're taking all of that knowledge and all of those lessons that we've learned, and we're applying it to the newer districts, along with what our taxing entity partners are telling us related to some of the goals that they have as well. So it's really going well, and we hope to see a number of them come out in the near future as well. Let's see.
Can I just ask a really quick question?
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, I really appreciate you again covering the TIF and how that works, etc. Could we talk about maybe one of these examples and kind of talk about, how much money was invested in that area from the revenue that was generated? Am I making sense? So we can see or understand better how it works when you talk about the actual numbers.
Yeah, I think one of the best.
Yeah, if it's easy.
Yeah, I think the easiest example and the best example is, again, DDO.
Mm-hmm.
When we were given that land, it was not situated for commercial development, right? So the infrastructure was old, the road system wasn't conducive to commercial activity. So there had to be a massive initial investment and then an ongoing investment over time. So that initial investment was made by the city through a bond of about $12 million. And that $12 million went into infrastructure. Because there were already existing buildings at the base and there were new buildings being built during the first couple of years, it started generating tax increment almost immediately, sufficient to pay that bond. And so that was a perfect relationship between the two. Over the course of the 20 years, we've collected about $75 million in tax increment. All of that tax increment has stayed at the base. It's not come to the agency. It stayed at BDO, and our partner Boyer has developed a capital improvement plan that uses the tax increment and reinvests it into the infrastructure, so that when the TIF district terminated and all of those assets and all of those things came into the city's purview for maintenance and operation, then we had a really good situation because they were able to maintain it and invest in it over time. So not only was the initial investment of the city paid off by tax increment, but it's created one of the best business parks in the state because of that reinvestment philosophy. And obviously, we can't say enough about what it does from the lease revenue side of things. So it's a really good example. Trackline is another probably good example. Trackline had a number of city investments. There was a 24-inch water line that the city invested in down there. There's also a loan that the city took out with HUD for $3 million. Although the water line was paid partially by city funds and partially by federal funds, the loan is being paid back by tax increment. So that $3 million HUD loan at Trackline has first priority. So the first dollar of tax increment that we receive there goes to pay that loan, and will continue to do so for the next 12 years, I believe. So those are two examples. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful. Sometimes when we're just talking about these really big numbers and really long time periods, I think sometimes some of that gets a little bit lost, at least for me sometimes. So then, like in those examples, when it says new revenue to the Ogden School District or to Weber County, on those lines, not only is the city receiving back the new revenue, but those other entities that went into the agreement with us also are, they receive those benefits as well.
Exactly, based on their individual tax rates. Again, if we closed everything today, the city would get $3 million, the school district would get 8.3, and the county would get a little over 2. As of 2020, you can see that all of the colored rows have expired in previous years. And so that's already giving us, BDO's not in this. There looks like there's a calculation. Well, it didn't get calculated because it's not being received yet in this report. But as of 2020, it was $710,000 that we're receiving from all of the expired districts. And then when we add in BDO, it'll be close to $2 million.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so moving on to some of the activities. Here is a picture of, on the left is Ogden's own. This is out at the Ogden Business Exchange, or the Trackline. On the right is the Enable Utah building. Those two buildings were recently built and occupied, and they're going great. We're happy to see activity out there. In addition to that, the SWIFT building was a major area of focus over the last reporting period. We commenced the demolition and the cleanup. Just a couple of fun facts. I know there's been a lot of talk about the cleanup, so I thought you'd be interested in knowing that at the end of the day, there was 98,275 containers found in the building. And of those 98,000 containers, almost 19,000 were treated on site, meaning they somehow rendered the chemicals in those containers inert on site, and just were able to dispose of the containers after that. There were about 20,000 empty containers, so those just went into the trash. And then there was about 60,000 containers that had to go to a specialized dumping facility. So there was a lot of work done there by the EPA, and that allowed us to then move on to the demolition of the building. And the demolition was another massive undertaking. There was about 1,700 loads, semi-truck loads of debris hauled off and hauled to the dump. That's after the chemical cleanup. So this is just the debris that came from the building, over 1,700 loads. And there were 3,280 cubic yards of debris that was disposed out, that came from the inside of the building. And there was over 1,000 cubic yards of metal that was recycled. We also recycled some wood and some of the beams and architectural features of the building, but I don't have any numbers on that. So you can just see the sheer quantity of stuff that was in that building, and it took a big effort to get that cleaned up. And before I move on from SWIFT and Trackline, I wanted to, it's not very often that we can come back to you as a council or as a board and talk about the effects of your decision making. And I think this is a really good time to do that. You know, we bring you a lot of different decisions to make, and in some cases you're very informed and very aware of what's going on. In other cases, it's information that just comes before you and then leaves. And so I'd be remiss if I didn't show you some of the effects of your decisions over time. In 2013, as a board, you all voted to approve the Trackline Economic Development Area. And the picture on the left was the condition of the stockyards at that time. It was covered in concrete. There was just piles and piles of debris, old buildings, chemical contamination in the soil, you name it, we had it out there. The picture on the right is the latest aerial picture that shows a number of things. You can see the Envy building, the CL Royale building, the small one on the bottom. The two big buildings are Ogden's own and Enable Utah. You can see the Roosters building there at the intersection, all new infrastructure, two brand new roads, Stockman Way, which is the loop, and Exchange Road upgrades. So there's been a massive, over the course of 5 to 6 years, there's just been a massive change in this area. And it's all because as a board, you had vision and you were able to take a leap of faith in some cases, hoping that we could take a zero to a hero. And we're well on our way in doing that. In addition to the activities that I've described at the SWIFT and the park itself, we've actually worked with a couple of different entities to create the Trackline Bike Park. That was a fun activity. Our internal partners with engineering and public works, they were wonderful partners to help with this. We had some corporate donors. The Trails Network folks were just irreplaceable in helping with this. So this is a great asset to the Ogden Business Exchange. And we had a grand opening back in October, and you can see some of the fun activities. I know, Marcia, you were there. Maybe some other of you were there that I missed, but there was a great turnout to the grand opening, and it's been well used since then. And we hope to expand on that This was just phase one, so we hope to see an additional phase or two happen over the next couple of years.
It was fun seeing all the kids. That was really a really great night for a lot of people.
It was, and Doug told me that he is going to take this berm on the high side as soon as he gets feeling better. So in addition to the stockyards, we
does my insurance cover that, Brandon?
Who needs insurance? Have faith.
Yeah.
So the Make Ogden plan, you're very familiar with that. That was an 18-month endeavor that spanned the course of this reporting year, and it's a wonderful plan that really takes us into the next 25 years. And although it's largely a city document, it does have implications to the redevelopment activities, and so I wanted to include that here. You've all seen some of these pictures, but these are renderings that help us to envision what the Make Ogden plan is really calling out. This is looking northwest, obviously at the Union Station, and so we see what that can look like over the course of the next few years. We're very excited about that. Here's a vision of what our municipal block could look like, reorienting the amphitheater to allow for a larger seating area and kind of an establishment into the Wonder Block development, adding some additional buildings to the site to allow for more uses around the municipal garden and the amphitheater. So that's a wonderful vision of what could take place. Here is looking east into the mountains along 25th Street and the Electric Alley. You can see that what is now a parking lot on the left side of the picture along Electric Alley is soon hopefully to be a number of buildings and some other amenities there that will help just make the 25th Street experience much better and much more lively than it currently is. So we're excited to see some things happening there, hopefully in the near future. Speaking of Make Ogden, that kind of led us right into the Wonder Block pre-development activities. That project is at the old Continental Bakery site, as you know, and that will consist of a number of really exciting things, public and private parking, a new hotel, potentially office buildings, residential units, unique and amazing promenade that snakes through the middle of the development that's meant to link all of that new use into the back of 25th Street, and again, enhance what's already happening and really cool at historic 25th Street.
Hey, Brandon?
Yep.
Maybe, can you remind me how many new housing units or how many apartment units might come online with Make Ogden if it's fully built out in 2093 or something, whatever I'm just kidding, but what's the amount that they came up with?
I'll have to get the plan out and look at the exact number, but my recollection is that over the 4 episodes, each episode contemplates about 900 to 1,500 new housing units per episode.
Thanks.
And the start of that is really the Wonder Block, and I believe this is scheduled to have about a little under 300 residential units here. So pre-development work continues on that. We're hopefully looking at a late 2021 or early 22 start on this project. The Dumke Arts Plaza, which you'll hear more about later tonight, so I won't steal Sarah's thunder, but there's been a lot of activity over the course of the reporting period on that. A lot of really good collaboration with local stakeholders and donors. Here's a rendering of what that is going to look like. I'll let Sarah explain all of this, but it's really exciting to see this come together and have a place in the 9 Rails district. here's what it would look like at night. So that's really it for the last fiscal year. Looking ahead, we're pedal to the metal in terms of capitalizing on some of the opportunities that currently present themselves. Union Station is really the major rock in the Make Ogden plan, that and 25th Street. So we look to continue to focus on that. That's going to be a long-term endeavor. The Rite Aid project is coming along nicely, and we should see some activity this year on that. So we're excited to finally get that kind of in a place that's going to be really exciting and sustainable. We're focused at the airport, as you know. There's activity at the west side of Walmart along the river there. Riverbend continues to expand. We're focused on maximizing our downtown parking and coming up with a new parking plan there. So this upcoming year will be just as busy as it has been. COVID has affected so many lives in so many different ways, but in terms of the redevelopment activities of the agency over this last year, and especially through COVID, it's actually gotten more busy, not less. And so we have every reason to think that the next little while is going to be just as exciting. That's it for me. I'll have any questions if you would love to ask them.
Chair, I'd like to ask Brandon if he wants to give credit to whoever does the artwork on the face page of the document.
We hire a consultant that does a lot of the redevelopment agency annual reports throughout the state. They're BWP Communications, and they've done our report for the last, I think 3 or 4 years now.
It looks good. I just thought you might want to give them credit.
Thank you.
Brandon, I'd just like to make a comment. I'm always concerned whether we're overextending ourselves or spending too much money, and that's a real concern. But as I went through the dialogue that you gave, you can see the return on investment is there, and what it means is that we're investing into the culture and the success and the livelihood of Ogden. And so we've got to invest into the core of Ogden in order to see the revenues to come in. And that'll offset some of the spending that we're going through. But this is what you outlined today is our opportunity of reinvesting into Ogden. And that's why, like your last slide says, it pays to live in Ogden. So appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey, Brandon, I have a question for you. At the beginning of your presentation, you talked a lot about how, I think you said we have more RDA areas and some of the oldest RDA areas in the state. And I believe those RDA areas, just like you pointed out in your presentation, are one of the things that really sets Ogden apart. Why do we have so much success with them and other communities aren't as involved with them? Does that make sense? Why have we been so fortunate and others seem like they haven't really jumped on that train yet?
I think it's a combination of a few things, at least to me, as I've been doing this in Ogden for almost 14 years now. I think that because we are such an old city that had such a long period of time of disinvestment, that really it provides an opportunity for us that maybe some of the newer cities haven't needed or haven't had. So I think that's one key component. The second one is the vision of the leaders of the community. You all as a board, the mayor, the stakeholders that we partner with, being the county and the school district specifically, they have seen the need, they've seen the value in some of the things that we presented to them. They certainly, as Doug said, they're also seeing the return on their investment. So I think that leadership and that vision is critical. And then the last thing is, I think that we just have really cool stuff and really cool opportunities that that people want to invest in, but sometimes the market can't justify. And as we do the newer redevelopment areas, as opposed to some of the older ones, we're really trying to stay focused on doing things that the market can't do by itself. Another good sign that we're headed in the right direction, in addition to our healthy budget position, I think the city's budget is the healthiest that it's been in probably all of our lifetimes. But in addition to that, we're starting to see investments being made by the private sector that weren't happening, 10 years ago or even 5 years ago. And so all of those things are really good signs. There still are projects like the airport and like Wonder Block and Union Station that don't make sense from just a typical market standpoint that we're still going to want to get ourselves involved in. But that tide is turning. And I think for all of those reasons, we've been really successful.
Definitely. So yeah, it's been great for the time I've been on the council to see those things just continue to build upon each other. And yeah, the success keeps breeding more success. And yeah, it's definitely trending in the right direction. So kudos to you and your team and everyone for all their hard work.
Thank you. Right back at you. It takes all of us to really understand this and to get behind it with your votes and with our efforts. And like I said, I can't say enough about the county and the school district. A lot of cities don't have the kind of relationship that we have with our school district. And as you know, they're critical in participating because of their tax rate and how much they bring to the table. So we're very grateful to have that relationship with the school district and with the county as well. They've participated at 100% in a lot of these areas.
Yeah.
I think we need to be that we're more creative in what we have. We have to be very creative in developing the resources that we've got, and also have a vision and a focus in there. But I think our creativity is probably one of the other elements that we're seeing in this concept.
And Make Ogden captures that creativity. I mean, the Make Ogden plan is the future of Ogden. As it was adopted by you all as the city council and the planning commission and endorsed by the administration, it is the roadmap for Ogden over the next couple of decades. And if we can pull that off, it's going to take a lot of hard work and a lot of money and a lot of vision and potentially some sacrifice. But if we can pull that off, then Ogden will never be the same.
Yep. Well, thank you. Is there anything else for Brandon?
Thanks, Brandon.
Thank you.
Yep. If no further comment, I'll go ahead and accept a motion.
I make a motion that we adopt the fiscal year 2020 annual report for the RDA, or the CRA, or whatever we're going to call it.
I'll second.
And just Chair Blair, that should be
Yes.
except for review.
Okay. We'll let Vice Chair White try that one more time.
I'm flustered. What was my first one?
Accept it for review.
I accept for review the fiscal year 2020 annual report.
And I'll still second.
Great, thank you. We have a motion by Vice Chair White to accept for review the fiscal year 2020 RDA annual report, and a second by Board Member Heyer. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Thank you.
And Chair Blair, if I might,
Yes.
I believe that will be that report will be posted on the city's website in the next 48 hours.
Great, thank you. Okay. Next up is public comments. Just before we begin, a couple of statements. Questions posed during public comment will be noted and answered at the end of all public comments. If the council has the answers to the questions, the council will respond to those questions. For questions that relate to administrative matters, the mayor may choose to respond to those during his comment period. As always, questions for the council or the administration can always be sent to citycouncil@ogdencity.com. So with that being said, we will now open it up to public comments. And before we begin that, I think we should have probably Eric go ahead and explain how that process will work.
Thank you, Chair Blair. To participate in this evening's public comments, you can do so only if you're joining us via Zoom and using the raise hand feature found at the bottom of your screen.
Great, thank you. So I see we have some. First up is Heath Sato. Go ahead, Heath. Please state your name and record for the, or state your name and address for the record. And you have 3 minutes. The time is now yours.
Hey, Heath Sato, Ogden resident. These projects look pretty impressive, and I'm seeing the value of this land will be skyrocketing quickly. And I was curious if I could get my hands on the appraisal that everybody used to determine that the Brown Ice Cream building was worth only $100,000 in its current state. Do I need to file a grandma request for that, or can I just get a copy of it? That's all.
Thank you, Heath. Okay. Next up is, please bear with me, Jeffrey Globoki. Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. The time is now yours.
Great, thank you. And I'm sorry, I understand I may be jumping in ahead of the game. I was going to make comments around the Arts Plaza. So if I could take my 3 minutes after Sarah's presentation, that would be more appropriate.
Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure, Blair, that it might be a good opportunity to remind people that we are in the redevelopment agency meeting, not the other.
Yep. Yes. Good. Good clarification. Maybe that's why there's only a couple hands raised and none actually right now. So. Okay. Not seeing any more hands raised. With that, we'll go ahead and move into comments from the executive director.
I'd just like to thank Brandon for that thorough review and everything that they've been doing. They are amazing, and we want to really appreciate their efforts. And I'll leave it at that.
Great, thank you. And comments from board members.
Chair, I'll make a quick comment. I would just, I'm not sure who should respond to Heath's request. I don't know if it's appropriate for him to do a grandma request. I don't know what the process is for that.
Chair Blair, if I
Yes.
might, I'll double check with legal. If it's a public information, I can just get it to him. If it's not, I'll send him a note.
Great, thank you. Okay. Any other comments from the board members?
Chair, I was a planning commissioner during the time when DDO was transferring over to the city and becoming BDO. I remember the potential anxiety that was present. It was a lot of money. We hadn't had that experience before. It was a little bit of a leap of faith. It is really good to see the numbers that have been produced from that. And I looked through some of those really lean years around 2008 and some of those times, and can't imagine what Ogden would have done through that time if we had not had BDO lease revenue to bail us out of some of those problems that time created. So, you know, it helps me to have faith in these other things in the future, even though, you know, they do kind of pay out many years in the future. But in all reality, they don't cost us very much along the way. So I'm just happy that we had this report, and hopefully the citizens that had any concern can look at that and realize the upside does outweigh the the cost.
Yes, thank you. Okay. Any other comments? If not, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion to adjourn the RDA meeting by Board Member Highener, second by Board Member Chaburka. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? That passes. Just a reminder, we'll have a special city council meeting following this meeting, so stay put. We'll just wait for the recorders to get us moved over, and then we can begin.
Chair Blair, we're good?
Great, thank you. Okay, good evening and welcome to this special City Council meeting for February 9th, 2021. Let the roll call reflect that all council members are present with the exception of Council Member Nadolski, who is asked to be excused. And in reference to the chair's statement, we read it at the beginning of the RDA meeting and also at the beginning of the work session. So we have already done that. First up, we have a public hearing for the Arts Plaza. And we have first item would be proposed ordinance 2021-8, amending the fiscal year budget. And that presenter will be Lisa Stout.
Excuse me, Chair, may I interrupt for just a moment?
Uh-huh.
I just wanted to let everyone know that I'm recusing myself from this item discussion and vote due to my spouse being involved with the project through his employment. So I'll leave the meeting now and get a text back when this item is over.
Thank you so much for letting us know.
Thank you, Chair Blair. I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. The ordinance before you tonight is to consider an appropriation to a CIP that is included in the fiscal year 2021 CIP plan. It is for the Ogden Avenue Plaza. This is for the former Courtyard Inn site. It will transform the public plaza and help activate 25th Street, create stronger connections between the Central Business District and East Central neighborhoods. And they intend for it to catalyze the revitalization of the 9 Rails Creative District. The Courtyard Inn was in a dilapidated condition and contributed to blight, vandalism, and other crime in the area. Though previously funded as a CIP project, the city has acquired property and demolition is underway. Planning for the plaza is also underway and will be completed during 2021. Several project partners have committed to funding the construction of the plaza. The current request for city funding is to support the remaining construction costs. The budget opening itself is a total of $4.2 million, just over $4.2 million. The sources of funds are from the Dumke Foundation in the amount of $2.2 million. Ramp pass-through. This is a ramp grant given to Ogden first. It will be a pass-through to the city for $450,000, and city funds in the amount of $800,000, which will be a transfer from the redevelopment agency. The total appropriation to the Ogden Arts Plaza construction will be $3,450,000, and a use of retained earnings in the BDO of $800,000 is also included in this budget action, which makes the ordinance total $4,250,000. Just wanted to remind council of all the investment that has already been put into this project. The council has appropriated a total of $1.9 million, over $1.9 million, for the purchase and the demolition of the Courtyard Inn, and $150,000 in public art funds for the design of the plaza. The additional appropriation of $800,000 is included in the budget ordinance before you this evening and will go towards additional construction. And then additionally, with the Dumke contribution and the ramp pass-through from Ogden First, community partners will fund $2.6 million to the construction of the plaza, bringing the total investment into this area to $5,555,000. This is just for the construction. Sarah Meese will talk more about the resolution for the naming agreement and the additional costs that will be needed after the plaza is constructed. I'll turn the time over to her.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chair Blair and council members. I'm going to just get the presentation shared with you here. All right, are you seeing that all right?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. We appreciate the opportunity to discuss the Arts Plaza project with you this evening. As you know, the Arts Plaza is located in the Nine Rails Creative District at 25th and Ogden Avenue. The master plan for Nine Rails, which was adopted in 2018, identified this project as a high priority for the Creative District. So why are we building an Arts Plaza? One of the primary goals of the Nine Rails District is to create new opportunities for the community to engage with art in the public realm, just as part of our daily experience of the city. As we were working on the plan for Nine Rails, we did a number of pilot projects to test this concept. So you may be familiar with some of these. There's the Rachel Pohl mural at the platform site, the Moments Festival, which used all different types of art to bring visitors into the downtown and Nine Rails areas and really draw them up 25th Street into the East Central neighborhood. And also our Painted Streets project, where we had so many community members come out and participate in creating public art in the Nine Rails district. And it was really amazing to see through these pilot projects how public art could increase activity and vibrancy in our community. I think we also saw how art in the public realm can help build community connections and really increase our sense of place and civic pride. So when we started to design the Arts Plaza in 2020, we wanted to continue building on that idea of using art to engage the community. Union Creative Agency, as part of our design team, hosted a Welcome Fest for the plaza. And Welcome Fest was really an opportunity for the community to come together around art, to experience some of what the plaza will offer, and to help shape our vision for the project. So I have just a short video I'm going to try to share with you. I hope the sound will work, but even if it doesn't, I think the visuals will give you an idea of what it was like to be at Welcome Fest. And the video really captures some of what the plaza is going to bring to our community.
So tonight we're having a little event that we're calling Welcome Fest. It's this opportunity to basically welcome the community into this space, hang out in a dirt lot. A year from now, this thing will be built, but we wanted to bring the community together to become part of something.
We've tried to bring in almost like a sample platter of what's possible here. So we have live music, live performing arts. We have a projection artist here who's doing an installation. The goal for us tonight is to get community to come out, experience what's possible here, and then hopefully tell us what they want to see here.
So the biggest thing we want people to walk away with is we want them to feel welcome in this space, whether they live up the street, work across the street, live a few cities away and are coming here for a big event. The goal really is for everybody to feel like this is a home for them and that they're welcome and they're excited to be here.
All right. So with that event, it was just really exciting to get a glimpse of the impact that the plaza can have as a public gathering space that's really designed to bring the community together around all different types of art. So through the Welcome Fest and other engagement sessions that we held virtually, we received some really great input from the community, as well as our project partners. The design team used this input to develop design principles for the plaza. And I'll just go over those quickly here. The plaza is really meant to reflect the community and to create an inclusive and welcoming space for the community to gather. It's also meant to broadcast ideas and further establish Ogden as an arts destination. It's designed to celebrate our natural environment, and it's meant to have the flexibility so that it can evolve with Ogden over time. And Brandon gave you a little preview of the next couple images, but this is the current design of the plaza looking into the plaza from 25th Street. And you can see here that there's quite a bit of flexible open space, and that's meant to accommodate large-scale art installations as well as smaller arts-based events. We have what's called the Smart Grid, which is just a series of poles that really bring a lot of new lighting into the space and also give us the option to have art installations that are suspended above the plaza. And then finally, you'll see here, there's also an LED screen, which will be important for us to bring innovative new video and multimedia art into the plaza. And then again, this is just another view of the plaza. This one is looking west from Ogden Ave, so kind of towards the back of the Bigelow Hotel. And you can see here a ramp that leads up to an elevated platform or plinth. And that platform just provides a different perspective on the site and the surroundings. And it also gives us the opportunity for additional art programming up on the platform. And then here in the corner is what we call the folded planes. And that area introduces an element of play for kids and families. So it will include misting poles and musical chimes that give people something to interact with at the site, in addition to the art. We also have two design elements that are really an extension of the plaza, and they are included in our current project scope and budget. The design of these elements got started a little bit after the plaza design, so the images that you're seeing here are still just conceptual, but we wanted to share them with you this evening. The first element is improvements to the north end of Ogden Ave, and that will really create an extension of the plaza space and allow for an even greater variety of programming. The second element is the 25th Street beacon, and this is a sculptural element that will extend out from the plaza over 25th Street and will really serve to draw visitors from lower 25th Street and Washington Boulevard up into the Nine Rails district and to the plaza. We also wanted to talk just briefly about what's actually going to happen at the plaza. This is something that we're really excited to develop. We're partnering with Weber State to bring innovative arts programming to the plaza. So Weber State is planning to curate 2 to 3 major installations at the plaza each year, and that will be funded through an endowment, also from the Dumke Foundation. In addition to that Weber State programming, the plaza is also going to be available for community-driven programming. So that would primarily be arts-focused events, such as concerts, performances, video art, and so on. And we really envision that community programming taking place side by side with the Weber State installations. And our team's really excited about some of the opportunities that will create. We'll move just quickly through the costs and funding sources. Lisa already covered this, but our construction cost is estimated at $4 million, and that includes the plaza, the Ogden Ave improvements, and the 25th Street Beacon. We are looking at some additional non-construction costs, and those would primarily be for maintenance of the plaza and for the arts programming that will happen at the plaza. These are the funding sources that we will use for this project. We'll start with the construction funding sources. The city has received a very generous contribution of $2.2 million from the Dumke Foundation. That includes $200,000 specifically for the Ogden Ave improvements and $250,000 for the 25th Street Beacon. And that contribution is really what's allowing us to include those design elements in our current project scope. Ogden Contemporary Arts, formerly known as Ogden First, is funding $450,000 towards construction from a 2020 RAMP grant. And they have requested an additional $550,000 from RAMP in 2021. And then finally, our city funding request is for $800,000. Apart from our construction costs, we do anticipate requesting additional city funds for a reserve fund, which would allow us to replace and upgrade major equipment at the plaza, and ongoing maintenance. For that ongoing maintenance, we are looking into using tax increment financing from the Adams CRA to help fund that. We are also looking at the funding for arts programming at the plaza, and the biggest piece of this is that the Dumke Foundation intends to fund a $2 million endowment to Weber State to help them bring those large-scale installations to the plaza into the future. And Weber State will also be supporting that effort with additional in-kind contributions. So we're presenting 2 actions for your consideration this evening. Lisa already touched on the budget item. I'll talk briefly here about the sponsorship naming agreement and establishing the name of the plaza. So the plaza would be named for the foundation in recognition of their $2.2 million contribution to the plaza, as well as their many prior civic contributions to our community. So the formal name of the plaza would be the Dr. Ezekiel R. and Edna Wattis Dumke Foundation Arts Plaza. We would also have an informal name to use to refer to the plaza. That would be the Dumke Arts Plaza. Those naming rights would continue for 75 years or until the plaza is no longer used as a public civic space. The city would also commit to using the plaza name on signage at the site and in our related marketing materials. And then finally, the plaza would be complete by October 15th, 2021. That is a pretty aggressive schedule, but we worked closely with our design team and our contractor, and they're comfortable that that schedule is workable. So just to wrap up, we're again deeply grateful to the partners that have provided such generous support for this project. And we're really excited for the impact that this project will have in our community. So we look forward to your questions.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions for Sarah and or Lisa? If not, this is a public hearing, so we can go ahead and accept public input and then.
Sure, I have a question. And I don't know who it's for, but and maybe it's for Sarah. About how much do you think we're going to need for ongoing maintenance? And I guess it's a two-part question. If that's the case, then do you think that we will be able to really generate that from the Adams CRA? And when will the Adams CRA start to generate that kind of money to pay that back?
So I'll take a crack at that, and then Brandon, I see, is on the call too, so he may want to weigh in here as well. But the Adams CRA is currently generating TIF that's not obligated. Not all of the TIF being generated right now is obligated as incentives in our development agreement. So there's some TIF that's available already, and we anticipate that looks pretty good moving forward and should be sufficient to cover the maintenance needs for the plaza. We've talked about having the maintenance contracted out to a third party in this situation because the plaza is kind of a unique space and is going to have some unique maintenance needs. But we do want to do some additional work on that. I think now that we have our design is kind of established, I think we'll be able to do some additional work getting a good cost estimate for those kind of ongoing day-to-day maintenance costs moving forward, and come back to council with that.
Just a quick follow-up question. Is there a process by which we have to go through, since it's RDA money or TIF money? Do we have to have an agreement with the RDA?
I may need to defer to Brandon or Lisa on that one.
And that's just, I don't know the answer to that.
Normally, the process would be that the board would appropriate an operating budget for the purpose of funding the contract. The contract itself would be under administration, executing the contract. But the funding, the appropriation of an operating budget would come to the board. Sorry, Brandon.
Thank you.
Okay.
One other question, Chair.
Yes.
Are we looking at maybe if some of the citizens or residents or even companies in the area would like to make a donation to this this art project? Are we in the process of maybe receiving some of those funds?
That's something that we're really interested in, but is not currently established. I think our focus right now has been on securing all of the funding sources needed for the kind of the upfront capital investment or construction costs of the plaza. But we definitely see a need for additional contributions that would help support some of the community-led programming at the plaza. So I think once we get our design finalized and construction underway, we can turn our attention to what mechanism would work best for that. So how can we receive additional donations from community members or from businesses in our area that could be used to help support, I think in particular, the community-led arts events that we'd like to see happen here at the plaza.
Okay. Any others? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and get started with the public input. Brandon, do you want to go ahead and explain how that works?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chair. You can participate in this public hearing only via Zoom. So that would be by using the raise hand feature found at the bottom of the application.
Okay. Looks like we have some hands raised already. We'll go ahead and open the public input. Go ahead. Heath Sato, the time is now yours.
Hi, Heath Sato, Ogden resident, artist. I just wanted to give my full support for this project. Literally my first day in Ogden, I attended a 9 Rails development meeting that night, and Sarah's just been the best. Everyone there was open and welcoming to ideas, and it's just been a great process from the start, the development of the 9 Rails district. And I've been attending the Plaza development meetings from the start, and I'm very excited about it. A huge thank you to the Dumpke Fund as well, Foundation as well. So that's it. Thanks.
Thanks, Heath. Okay. Next is Jeffrey Globocki. Sorry about if I butchered that name, but go ahead, Jeffrey. The time is now yours.
Great, thank you. Sorry to have jumped the line earlier this evening. I apologize for that.
No worries.
Hello to everybody on council. My name is Jeff Globocki. I serve as an advisor to the Dr. Ezekiel R. and Edna Wattis Dumpke Foundation. And thanks for the opportunity to speak with you for just a few moments tonight. The foundation board members send their regrets and their apologies for not being able to attend the meeting tonight, but they do very much look forward to participating in the October ribbon cutting. You might know that Dr. Dumpke and his wife Edna Wattis Dumpke, they were the founders of the Dumpke Foundation some 60 years ago. And they had a great history in Ogden and a great commitment to Ogden. The current foundation board looks very much forward to this $2.2 million gift to Ogden City for the Dumpke Arts Plaza, for the Ogden Avenue improvements, as well as the Beacon sculpture at 25th and Ogden. And this gift is really made as a legacy gift in memory of the founders. You already heard from Sarah about the foundation's commitment of a $2 million endowment gift to the Browning Center at Weber State, and they'll be developing ongoing programming well into the future at the Dumpke Arts Plaza. So the foundation really envisions this new civic asset in Ogden as a place for all people, for all art, and it's also a civic space that will put Ogden on the map in an exciting new way for residents and for visitors alike. We really do want to thank Ogden City for the partnership and collaborative effort. Appreciation to the mayor, to city council, and to all the city staff we've been working with. Sarah, Brandon, Lori, Christy, everyone's really come with a spirit of collaboration. So we thank all the partners who look forward to this quality Arts Plaza design and the impact it will have. And we want to thank you for bringing this space to life with us for everyone in Ogden and beyond.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Okay, next up is Jake McIntyre. Go ahead, Jake, the time is now yours.
Yeah, hi everybody. I just wanted to offer my support for this project. My team has helped on the design of the project as well as some of the community outreach and engagement work. So I just want to thank you all and offer our support for this project. Also to thank the community at large for participating so in depth and with so much support of this project and providing so much feedback. It really has helped to shape and inform what this plaza will be. And then I also just want to note that, as we've worked over the last 6 or so years on helping to develop arts in Ogden, this piece has really been a piece of the puzzle that's been missing. I think that this plaza will help to provide very accessible and welcoming community arts programming space that not only provides the community with a platform from which to present, but also enables us to bring in national and internationally renowned artists and mix those things together and really see what happens. So I think this is really going to help to fill that gap, to be able to help leapfrog our local artists and arts organizations forward. What we're looking at creating here is something that is not only regionally, but nationally and internationally unique. There's really not very many other places like it throughout the world. So we're creating something very special here that I look forward to seeing come to fruition. I know that there are other arts organizations throughout the state and throughout the region that have already kind of caught wind of this program and this space and are starting to be excited about it. So I think I don't know that we fully realize the impact of what this space will be yet, but I just want to thank you all for all of your support along the way.
Thank you, Jake. Next up is Matthew Chaburka. Go ahead, Matthew.
Thanks very much for the time, and thanks to everyone for the aforementioned partners that have been involved in this project. I just wanted to speak in my capacity as a professor at Weber State University and also as director of the newly formed aforementioned Jeff Glabaki mentioned the Matthew S. Browning Center for Design at Weber State, a new organization that I'm confident you'll be hearing a lot about in the near future. But I just wanted to reiterate that Weber State is extremely excited to be part of this project. We've been consulting thinking of this as a part of an ever broadening public art, visual arts programming endeavor. And it has really caught the attention and imagination and support, crucially, of the provost and the president of the university and our new dean, Deborah Uman, in the College of Arts and Humanities. So Weber State is really looking forward to being a partner that can offer a curatorial vision for 2 to 3 major seasonal art installations that are going to make the very most of this plaza and its remarkable design, for which we're also grateful. And I want to make sure that it's clear too that while Weber State will take on some of the heavy lifting in terms of these sort of major curatorial endeavors, we're really particularly excited about the way that kind of programming of, as Jake McIntyre mentioned, real regional and national and even international importance is going to, in our estimation, sort of dovetail into supporting and working in concert with the creativity and the civic spirit of this community itself. And I think that the plaza is quite unique in that way, where it's going to be a venue for major contemporary art, but it's also going to be a place for folks from the town and the region itself to come together to experience that art and to offer their own creativity and build our communities in ways that I think we can really scarcely imagine at this point. So, speaking, for myself and for the university, we're really thrilled to be part of this and appreciate the partnership with the city, with the remarkable generosity of the Dumke Foundation. So thanks very much for the time.
Thanks, Matthew. Next up, I believe it's Thane Fisher. So go ahead, Thane. The time is now yours. Oh, looks like he's still muted.
Unmute.
There we go.
Am I on now? Okay,
Yep.
So thank you very much for allowing me the opportunity to speak. And I want to again speak from the board member's position from Ogden Contemporary Arts, as well as myself personally. And we want to say that we 100% support this project. We were also the applicant for the ramp grant. So we'd like to thank Weber County for the 2020 funds to participate in this. And we also had a meeting today that was very positive for the balance of the application. It's been amazing to see what the vision of Ogden City has for an arts district or a creative district, which was the Nine Rails Creative District. And since that has happened, a lot of these amazing things have come to fruition through a lot of people's work. And so I just think it's important for the city council to know in our development of the Monarch, we did a lot of due diligence in creative and arts districts, and we found that we've never really found one that's ever failed. So for Ogden City to have the vision for a creative district and now an arts plaza, and then finding the Dumke Foundation to support the vision, and then all the collaboration from Weber County, from the Ogden Contemporary Arts, from Weber State University, Ogden City, the Jake McIntyre's group, Chalet Larson's group, and also the design group, Sasaki. I just feel like this is probably one of the most exciting partnerships and collaborations that I've seen since moving to Ogden 15, 16 years ago. So I can't tell you how excited we are to see this collaboration and support in any way we can the Arts Plaza, the Dumke Arts Plaza. So thank you for the opportunity to comment.
Thank you, Thane. Okay, next up, it looks like Edward Mackner. Go ahead, Edward. The time is now yours.
Yeah, it sounds like a very, congratulations on the project. My only question would be, is this going to be a sustainable project? In other words, we're in a climate crisis right now, and we're going to be using a lot of energy. I'm concerned that sometimes the arts are divorced from technologies. And it's very important to consider not just artists as such, but some of the outsiders who look at design and as a functionality of problem solving. And so I was wondering, are there solar panels coming? Are there battery backups? Are there, what kind of heating systems you're going to have? All of these things would be very nice for a showcase for art and technology. So congratulations on your the advent of this project, and I'm looking forward to attending and being part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Edward. I don't see any other hands raised at the moment. Oh, I spoke too soon. Travis, your hand is now raised and the time is now yours. Hey. Travis, can you hear us? Oh. Travis, are you back on? It doesn't look like Travis.
Chair, it kind of appears he's having some technical issues. We still do have public comment left in the end of this meeting. Perhaps we can look forward to hearing from him then if he can resolve his issues with technology.
Sounds good.
Then I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to close the public hearing and a second by Councilmember Stevens. This is a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Any comments about the proposed ordinance or the proposed resolution or the joint resolution?
Are you ready for a motion?
I am ready for a motion.
Then I would make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2020-8.
Second it.
2020 or 2020 or 2021?
2021-8. Did I say 2020? Sorry if I did. 2021-8.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-8 and a second by Councilmember Stevens. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Aye. Thank you. That passes.
Chair, I'll make another motion that we adopt or joint resolution 2021-2.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion to adopt joint resolution 2021-2 by Councilmember Heyer and a second by Vice Chair White. This is also a roll call vote.
Councilmember Lopez.
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens.
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer.
Aye.
Vice Chair White.
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Aye. Thank you. That passes. Okay. Next up is reports from the Planning Commission. We have Greg Montgomery here to talk about the Mountain America Credit Union Development Agreement amendments, sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Chair, members of the council. Appreciate taking this time to share with you a recommendation from the Planning Commission. Just to give you a little background, back in 2018, the city considered a petition to rezone a corner piece of property that was in the MU zone from MU to a commercial C2 with a conditional overlay for the specific project of the Mountain America Credit Union being developed on the site. At the time, as this picture shows, the motel was located at that site, and the property that was going to be acquired was purchasing that motel property and then demolishing the building and building a credit union at that location. Because of the specifics of the development and how it impacted the mixed-use development, it's felt it appropriate to be a conditional, had a development agreement with it that set certain terms and conditions over and above zoning. And so at the time of 2018, this was the proposed project, its site layout. And in addition to setting those specifics of these elements, also there is a timing in place for the development. Well, since that time, the hotel has been removed, but the billboard's still there, which has limited the ability to, of course, create that site plan. The billboard is getting close to being relocated, and hopefully within the next 6 months that will take place. But in the meantime, it's important that we need to amend the agreement because there's some things that have happened. Mountain America Credit Union has looked at some different branding. They felt it important to reflect that branding in the building since it hasn't been built yet. And so they desired to revise the design using much of the same materials, but taking on more of a theme that their branding has. Also, they can pick up on some of the other developments that have taken place in the river project along Washington Boulevard with more of the shed roof design, the modern awning type approach, still the same building shape. That shape has not changed, but the overall design and application of materials has changed. In addition, the new development agreement would set a new time frame since, of course, we've had 2 years and have not been able to really move forward because of that billboard. And with that taking place in the near future, revising the time frame so that the development agreement can reflect really what is going to be taking place. So again, as I said, picking up on some of the elements of the design that's in the area and reflecting that on the building. If you read the Planning Commission's transmittal, there was some discussion about a night deposit window and some confusion of whether was this an entry door into the building or what was its purpose. It's clarified that it's night deposit, and therefore the majority of the commission felt comfortable with that explanation of what's taking place. Again, you see the layout has not changed from the first development agreement. And again, that's that entryway. So the Planning Commission recommends to you 8-1 to approve this amended development agreement with the new architectural lines of the building, the materials being very much similar, and the development agreement amended to talk about a 2-year time frame from the amendment for the project to be completed. Hopefully, it will be completed much sooner than that, but at least gives that time frame of what we originally had anticipated, and extended on now to 2023. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer that. Again, this is the zone is in place. It is conditioned by that conditional overlay with the development agreement, and amending the development agreement is all that's being asked for tonight.
Chair, could I ask a question of Greg?
Yes, please.
Greg, it looks like the no vote shared a concern about lighting around the Dropbox window, as well as the entrance off of 18th. Has the petitioner, I guess, addressed those at all? As far as, I also would share that concern about the lighting for a night drop. You know, as much as it is night, I see it does have a pretty free access to the street, but I think it is important that it be very well lit and, you know, a lot of attention paid to it.
Well, the architect is on tonight, and so I think that'd be something for him to respond to.
Okay, great. I'll do that. Thank you.
If there's no other questions for Greg, we do have the petitioner, Mr. Sanders, here. We can go ahead and ask him if he'd like to address the council.
Yes, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Greg did a great presentation. I think he covered all the points that I wanted to share with you. I guess just to clarify the lighting and the entrance issue that came up on 18th. Mountain America is very conscious of kind of the security of those uses, and that area will be well lit. You know, we try to balance lighting, and we will try and light well without trespassing that light across the street into the residential area, but it will be very well lit at that night deposit. There was a question why we didn't have an entrance on 18th Street. These facilities are very highly secure, and they have lots of cameras. The main entrance has a height strip camera along with a visual camera. It's important that they kind of have one control point for the public so they can monitor who comes and goes. It creates a security problem when you have multiple entrances into a building like this. These facilities can be robbed. It happens periodically, and so they try to limit the public entrance to one so that they can monitor those and control those a little better. So that's why we only have the one entrance to the south facing the parking lot.
Okay, any questions for the petitioner?
Thanks for the clarification. I appreciate that.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Saunders. Any further discussion on this topic?
Are we just waiting for weather to clear and availability of contractors to move that billboard? Is that really what we're holding up now? That'd probably be a good question for Greg.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Well, it's more questions for Brandon. I don't know, is he still on?
I am, yes.
Okay.
There's a fairly complex agreement that governs the relocation of that sign and who does it and how. And we've been working through the terms of that agreement with YESCO and the easement owner, and Ogden City is the new location. So it's just been a matter of time to work through that. YESCO is now getting their permits in place and their pricing squared away. So we hope to see that activity happen fairly quickly, but it's just been a matter of going through the 50 steps that were outlined in the agreements.
Thank you.
Seeing or hearing no other comments or concerns, I would entertain a motion on this.
You've listed on your, there is a listing on the agenda to receive input if you want to.
Oh, sorry. Yep. That's my fault. Sorry. Yeah. So with that, we will go ahead and receive public input on this. Not seeing anyone raise their hand on this item.
Chair, I'll make a motion in that event then that we adopt ordinance 2021-9.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to adopt proposed ordinance 2021-9 and a second by Vice Chair White. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Aye. That passes. Thank you. Next up is public comments. Just before we begin, I'll read a little statement here. It says questions posed during public comment will be noted and answered at the end of all public comments. If the council has the answers to the questions, the council will respond to those questions. For questions that relate to administrative matters, the mayor may choose to respond to those during his comment period. Questions for the council or the administration can always be council@ogdencity.com. And just remind everyone that the city council encourages civil discourse to everyone who participates. With that being said, we now open it up to public comment. Those interested can use the raise your hand feature. Okay, first up, we have Edward Mackner again. Go ahead, Edward, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Edward Mackner, 154 Ogden Canyon, Ogden, Utah. I just have a very quick question. I wanted to know what the plan was for the Ogden Corp for purchasing, it's about $1 million investment in a 71.29 acre area in Weaver Canyon, in Ogden Canyon. The parcel number is 13075002. And it was purchased in October of 2020. And then the other purchase was the Rock House in the Lewis camp, above the Lewis camp. And that parcel is 13,075,0017. And Ogden Corp owns that. The property is probably worth about $1 million. And I was wondering what plans the city would have for those parcels. That's my only question.
Okay, thank you, Edward. Okay. Not seeing any more hands raised. If no more, then we'll go ahead and move on. Comments from the administration.
Sure, I'll jump in really quick. Marcia, or Vice Chair White, I want to say thank you for the call out for everything that's gone on in the legislative session. It's been exhausting and there's been a lot of effort, and I want to defer to our teammates and the administration that have been working really hard on that. They've done a phenomenal job with that, and I'll just say that Ogden City and the leadership here and the administration has been amazing in dealing with all those issues. And so we're recognized as a group of people that can come together and really help and support what's happening on the state level in terms of local control and everything else. And I appreciated your comments saying that you know that we're very involved in that, and it's a big effort. It's a big effort by everybody. So thank you for that. I also want to thank the Dumpke Foundation. The comments that came through over what's going on with the Arts Plaza are amazing. We're really excited about that. We're really happy to support that. And we can't thank the generosity of so many people that have come into that and been willing to contribute. Thank you so much. And I just say with the Ogden Canyon purchase, just one quick comment. A lot of what's gone on in the Ogden Canyon, we have a 36-inch water line that goes through there that feeds all of our critical infrastructure in the summer. And we're trying to take care of that. So we don't have master plans for any of that. It's let's take care of a 80-plus-year-old water line that comes through there. And that's the goal of any work that's going on up there right now. And appreciate the question, but that's the whole purpose of what's going on in there right now. So that's what I've got.
Thank you.
Chair, may I, it's not really a comment, but I don't monitor my text messages very closely during meetings for obvious reasons, but I believe that the Travis that was trying to comment earlier is my neighbor, Travis Pate, and he's texted me to say that he wasn't able to make a comment because of the way he's connected. So I don't know if it was announced how to connect via the phone system. It doesn't look to me like he's logged on his phone, but he's saying that that's why he was having trouble. Not sure if we want to see if he's able to connect through the phone. And I apologize. Like I said, I just happened to look at my text messages.
Yeah, I don't know. It was on, but it just wasn't able to, I don't know.
I think if you're joined by phone, and again, I'm not an expert in this area, I think that you have to hit like *6 or *9 or something. But like I said, from my view, it doesn't look like he's on the phone. So I just kind of wanted to clarify that was part of his challenge. Technology.
That's right. Yeah. Brandon, is there a way to allow Travis to be able to speak?
We can certainly try it again. When we did try it the first time, he was unmuted, and it did not appear that he was using a telephone, but we can certainly give it a shot.
I appreciate it. I wasn't here, so I don't know what was happening. I'm just the messenger. So then I think, Travis, if you're able to hear us, if you're just on your phone, then you could hit, and I don't know if it's *6 or *9. I don't remember which one.
He's been permitted to speak.
Yeah.
If he just needs to unmute.
Maybe he walked away now that he wasn't able to participate before. Okay, well, perhaps he can send us an email or give us a phone call, and I'd be happy to talk with him too. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, are there any comments from council members? Any other comments from council members?
Chair Blair, I just have a really quick comment. I know that Councilmember Heyer was on last night as well, but Gina from the refuse department spoke with about recycling, and the League of Women Voters had her on, and she did a phenomenal job. And I want to thank her publicly and acknowledge her for all the effort she's doing. I know that recycling has been a huge issue for us, and she was able to actually put some great information into all of our heads about what we can and cannot recycle. And so I just wanted to publicly acknowledge her efforts and her team's efforts, and just some really interesting facts about what COVID did and what COVID did to us as a city, as far as how much more trash we had during this time. So if you could, Mayor or Mark, relay that she did a great job, I would really appreciate that.
She really does exhibit a lot of passion for that topic, and it seems very dedicated to her role. So, atta girl.
Chair?
Yes.
As you know, I'm quite passionate about arts, and I too want to voice my appreciation to the foundation for their donation to this worthy project. Sarah did a great presentation to us, and Laura Buckley, also in the city, works very hard in performing the arts. I have to thank the ramp for donating their funds, and I think this will be a great project. It seems like the arts, as was voiced in our session tonight, was that it brings pride to the community, and it also brings the community together. We're able to associate with one another. This plaza will actually link the central business district with the residential district. And so it has a lot of plus going for it. It has a great opportunities for us to do it. It brings families together. It's a family and an individual characteristics where individuals can share their arts and their talents, whatever it is, and families can also do the same. Great item for our community, and I appreciate that. When I was running for re-election, one of the things I wanted to foster was to enhance the arts in the community, and I'm very happy to see that this project is moving forward, that the 9 Rails district is progressing in a positive direction and bringing life and vitality, vision, and is part of our Make Ogden program that will enhance not only today, but also into the future for all our residents that live in the Ogden area. And I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Stevens. If there's no other further comments, we'll move on with the agenda and the consideration of adjourning into a closed executive session.
Chair, I'll make a motion then that we adjourn into a closed executive session for one of the 7 items listed in the agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Councilmember Heyer to adjourn into a closed executive session, and a second by Councilmember Chaburka. This is a roll call vote.
Councilmember Chaburka,
Aye.
Councilmember Heyer,
Aye.
Councilmember Lopez,
Aye.
Councilmember Stevens,
Aye.
Vice Chair White,
Aye.
Chair Blair.
Aye. That passes. Thank you. And we will go ahead and adjourn the special city council meeting after the closed executive session.